you, Matt. Okay, let's move on. I'm sorry, your name is?
Alexander Kristenko, Russian TV. I'm still considering negotiations with Russia on global security issues, in nuclear arms issues, after today's announcement.
So your question is, would we cut off conversations and negotiations?
I mean, do you change something in your attitude toward this?
Well, look, it's certainly concerning to see your government, to see your country put together that kind of video that shows the Russian government attacking the United States. That's certainly a concern of ours. I don't think that that's very constructive, nor is it responsible. I'll leave it at that. Okay?
United States. It was not attacked in the United States. It was 2 missiles sent to different directions. Why do you say that they are taken? Sorry, I'm from Russia.
You're from Russian TV
Russia.
too.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
okay. Enough said then. I'll move on.
Sorry, what does that mean?
What does what mean?
They're not officials of the Russian government. They're just asking a question about Russia.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, we know that that RT and other Russian news or so-called news organizations are funded and directed by the Russian government. So if I don't have a whole lot of tolerance,
Heather, can I just ask you one thing about the video? This video that you're talking about, the cartoon. Excuse me. As I understand it, and I could be wrong, the video that was played doesn't actually show the missiles hitting anything. But I'm just asking, is it the assessment of the U.S. government that had the missiles in the video ended up at their presumed target? That target was the United States?
Matt, I think it certainly looks like that. I'd ask you to go back and take a look at that. It's pretty clear what their target is, okay? So this is, let's move on from this. Nazira, you have a question about Afghanistan?
Yes, Heather, thank you very much. As you mentioned, Kabul Process Conference. What was the U.S. expectation from that conference? Still, United States will satisfy or something else? The conclusion. What was the conclusion?
Well, look, I can tell you that we were certainly a part of it. That the United States was pleased to have representation at the Kabul Process Conference, and we congratulate the government of Afghanistan for holding that conference. I mean, I think that is certainly a good step forward in doing so. We continue to have conversations with the government of Afghanistan and continue to engage them on a daily basis through our ambassador there or through our acting assistant secretary here. We support the cause of peace in Afghanistan, recognizing that peace talks have to be Afghan-led and Afghan-owned. Okay? All right.
Very quickly,
yes.
There was a news item yesterday, both in the Saudi press and in the Israeli press, that there's some sort of a peace proposal that will be coming out shortly. It was. So I wonder if you have anything on that, if you could share anything on that with us.
The report that we saw, I think it is an unfortunate report because it prejudges people against a plan on the part of the United States that is not yet complete. We have not released our plan. When it is ready to be released, the White House will go ahead and put that out. And some, I think, are trying to not only prejudge it, but to try to draw conclusions about what is in that plan.
Is the Secretary of State involved in this process?
Yes. The Secretary of State has been involved in meetings and conversations about this entire process.
And lastly, there's going to be a big conference in town this weekend. It's the APAC conference. Mm-hmm. Is anyone from the State Department attending or speaking?
I would imagine so, but I just don't have any confirmation to read out to you for that. Okay. All right. We're gonna have to wrap it up, but hold on. Hi.
Yes. Ambassador at Large for Religious Freedom Sam Brownback told VOA in an interview that what happened in Rohingya is a religious cleansing against Muslim. The verbatim is already released on our website. My question for you is it the United States position that Rohingya crisis is religious cleansing against Muslims? And secondly, is religious cleansing now a new category that the U.S. would imposing sanctions? Thank you.
So part of your question, is that a new category? No, there is not a new category that would include that. The Secretary had defined this after taking a very close look at this as ethnic cleansing. It is a long road to making those sorts of determinations, getting a lot of information and evidence that we have to compile. The Secretary made that determination back in the fall.
I have a question on Iraq.
Yeah. Hi, Lily.
Burma has increased its troop presence on the border with Bangladesh. Bangladesh is opposing it. Do you have anything on that?
Bangladesh
has opposed the presence of additional troops for the Burmese on the border.
Yeah, I can just tell you that we're watching that carefully. I can certainly understand that that would be a concern of the government of Bangladesh, but we're watching that one closely, and that's all I have for you. Okay.
Question on
Okay.
Iraq.
We have to wrap it up.
Question on Iraq.
Let me get. I've gotten to you already. Let me get to somebody else. Miss, hi.
I'm Cristina Garcia with the Spanish Newswire.
Yes, hi.
I have a question on Venezuela. So today, Venezuela decided to postpone the election to May, and also there is now an opposition candidate running. I want to know if does it affect the sanctions that the United States is considering, and if you have some update on those sanctions. When will they come, before the election, after the election? I know you don't forecast sanctions, but
yeah. So I'm not going to have anything for you on the sanctions. I can just tell you that we're considering a lot of different economic and diplomatic options in dealing with Venezuela, and hopefully its return to its constitution, as we have watched the situation deteriorate in Venezuela over the past year or so. We have said we're considering all options to restore democracy to Venezuela, including individual and potentially financial sanctions.
What about the election that has been postponed? Does the United States like this step at little?
Last I had known, the election was set for April the 22nd, I believe. So you're saying it's been pushed from there?
For May.
Oh,
No, it's
okay.
in May.
All right. I had not heard that, so my apologies. I'll see if I can get anything more for you on that, okay?
Heather,
All right.
can we stay in WHA for a second? I just want to ask you, this is a bureau that over the course of the last couple of weeks seems to is losing a tremendous amount of institutional knowledge and experience, the latest being Roberta Jacobson announcing her resignation today, effective in a month or so. But this is after your ambassador in Panama and Tom Shannon also announced their plans to resign. I'm wondering if there's concern in the building about WHA and the loss of knowledge and experience there.
Yeah. So you're referring to our ambassador, Roberta Jacobson, who serves in Mexico. She's been with the State Department for, I believe it was 31 years. And if you look at the amount of time that many of these individuals have invested in their careers at the State Department, her 31 years, Ambassador Joe Yoon was, I believe it was 30-some years. Undersecretary Tom Shannon was, I think it was 35 years. That's a tremendous amount of time to be working in any one industry, building, service, government agency, or department. People choosing to retire for personal reasons, and that's perfectly fine with us. We thank her for her service. She has certainly done a tremendous job in representing U.S. interests with the government of Mexico. We thank her for that, but when people choose to retire, and have noticed that they've all served for about the same period of time, it is not uncommon that people will eventually choose to move on.
Well, yeah. That's not my question, but I mean the three people in the careers that you just mentioned. That's 95 years cumulative experience. And my question to you was not, ambassador, people move on, yes, but I'm wondering if there is any concern at all on the seventh floor that this region in particular, WHA, is losing such a huge wealth of talent and experience.
Yeah.
You don't have an assistant secretary even nominated. You have an acting one, which is okay. And the president gets to choose ambassadors. That's his prerogative, and that's fine. But I'm just wondering more broadly, regardless of the reason for their departures, if there is some concern that WHA, which the United States is actually in this region, right? So these are our closest neighbors. If there's a concern that that you're losing this amount of experience.
No. I mean, we are thankful for their service. They have served our country and this department with dignity and with distinction, and we are grateful to them for that. We have a tremendous number of qualified, good people who are here in this building who work for us every day, all around the world. And it doesn't mean that just because there are a few people sitting in the bureau or a few people out at post doing those jobs, that there aren't other experts. You all may not know their names. It doesn't mean that they don't exist and they aren't excellent at their jobs. There's also the fundamental belief that people should be promoted in their careers. And we look to the future generations of people who are younger in this department to be able to bring them up through the ranks and take over these positions. Do you want somebody around forever?
I'm all in favor of youth. That's wonderful. Remind me again who the nominees are for Mr. Feely and Ambassador Feely in Panama. Who's been nominated to replace him? Who's been nominated to replace Ambassador Jacobson? Who's been nominated to replace Undersecretary
Matt, I would
Shannon?
refer you then to the White House for those nominations. You know very well where nominations come
so
from.
If you're interested in promoting the youth and the experience or mid-level people who should go into then one would think that you would have replacements in line.
And Matt, you all know that some of these are political positions and some of these are career positions, and we work every day to find the people who are the best fit for those positions.
The point is that people are not, I think there would be less concern, well, according to you, there's no concern at all that these people are leaving, but there would be less concern from people on the outside who do think that this is an issue if there were people in line to replace the people who are leaving. And the fact
just because you're not aware of it does not mean that does not exist. Okay.
They haven't been nominated.
Okay. There are people in mind and in line for those types of positions. Perhaps you've just not heard about it yet. Okay, we've got to go.
I have a question on Iraq, Heather, please.
I will talk to you after the
No,
briefing.
the Iraqi parliament voted Wednesday to call for a timetable for the Iraqi